Opening gag. I know I've already made a video about genres. Go watch that one if you haven't. Just do me a favor and don't worry about the bad editing, bad camera quality, bad audio quality, bad humor, and bad writing. But in it, I basically say that genres are stupid and dumb and we shouldn't abide by them. There are so many unique and talented artists who float around, don't really, ascribe to one genre. So to call them just rap or rock is really reductive and both harmful to artists and listeners. And I do stand by what I said, but I still find genres to be really interesting and helpful. Take high fantasy, for example. There's a lot going on and there's a lot that you're kind of expected to understand. And yeah, a big issue of a lot of the early high fantasy novels is tons and tons of exposition. Seriously, the first couple chapters of any fantasy novel written in like the 70s or 80s is just Jack walked down the street and then he saw a total blogue, which by the way is like a 3-foot tall creature that's yellow and spotted. But anyway, then he goes into his house and then he picks up a randglaw, which by the way is a metal tool that's used for, but after a while of developing those structures of the genre, you can pick up a high fantasy book and somebody can say, yep, it's a goblin, and move on immediately. Same goes for music. What if I like the way ska sounds? I like Bad Manners, I'll probably like the Specials too. I do. But really, what is a genre? Is it just a series of tropes? Is it just a shared history of a ton of people? No, I think it's something else. I think I know the answer, actually. And today, I want to talk about it. I'm Jack, I ramble, and today, I want to talk about what a genre is. Hey, Jack. Oh, hey, Frank. Something to say to the audience?
No, I have a gift for you.
Hey, that's sweet, man. What is it?
I know it's a bit late for the holidays, but I got you this to remind you of me. Because it's green. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do with it, but...
Thanks, Frank. That means a lot, man. I'm sure I'll find some way to put it to good use. Probably like this. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? I'm gonna put on this hat so editing Jack doesn't kill me. I feel bad though, I wish there was some way I could get you back.
I'll think of something.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh right, genres. It's really cool that I can do that now. In my opinion, genres are made up of 3 things: the sound, the ethos, and the context. To understand something or someone's genre, you kinda have to know all 3, you know? So, I'll go over them one by one. Sound. The simplest of the 3, it's just how it sounds. Parts of this are like the vocal style, the instrumentation, the mixing, even the chords that are used can change the genre. This is the easiest to figure out. You just have to listen to it and kinda know what to look for. EDM in general is, I think, the best example of this phenomenon. For instance, Gabber has the Gabber kick. Acid just kind of sounds like that for some reason. And drum and bass slash jungle slash breakcore all have heavy amen breaks. Folk, bluegrass, and country are really similar genres, but country is the only one that's really going to use drums consistently. And bluegrass is more technical and fast-paced. Slowcore is just rock in a minor key that sounds really sad and really compressed. Or how boom bap has that really iconic drum kind of sound. Next up is ethos. This is what the artist is saying, or their morals, or their stance, or what the music is about, or something to that effect. Usually it's easier to find, but not always. A lot of the ethos of rock and roll is just love or drugs, and the ethos of country is usually, like beer, I think. If you're confused, just look at the lyrics. This, by the way, is why white people aren't usually loved in hip-hop spaces. The rap ethos in general is about poverty, struggle, racism, you know? Things that white people don't as often have to deal with. So when they're rapping, it's like, I don't know why you're here, man. If it's not easy to find in the lyrics, which it usually is, it's easy to find in like the surrounding material. Like Keller synth, it's mostly an instrumental genre, but lots of Nazi imagery, or like how a lot of gore subgenres like gore grind or gore noise have gore on their album covers. I didn't believe it either. Great example is punk. The punk ethos is about anti-bigotry, anti-authoritarianism, and usually anti-capitalism. There's sirens outside. And this is very plain in their lyrics. If you listen to any punk song, you'll know what they're about. At least that's true most of the time, except for like SoCal beatdown dudes, or NSBM. It's a Nazi genre. It's just black metal, and actually, can I rant for a second because I will not know that a band is NSBM until somebody else tells me. I was listening to Peste Noir. I kind of liked them. I thought they were pretty good. Until somebody was like, Jack, you know they're Nazis, right? And I was like, fucking shit, man. It's just very annoying because I just didn't fucking know. I meant to say this while recording, but I got distracted talking about Peste Noir. NSBM, or Nationalist Supremacist Black Metal, is the exact same as black metal when it comes to sound. So it doesn't sound any different. The only difference is that the people who make it are Nazis. This sometimes shows up in the lyrics, and sometimes it shows up just in the imagery or in the people that the band associates with and supports. That was the case with Peste Noir. They didn't say anything Nazi-ish in their lyrics. They just kind of like supported Nazis and were friends with Nazis. But that's what makes them NSBM, and that's why it's in the ethos, because it's not what's in the music necessarily, it's kind of what's surrounding it that makes it NSBM. What about genres that don't have lyrics or aren't really that political in nature? Well, firstly, it's a little bit of the third aspect of the genre that helps you kind of figure out their ethos, which I'll explain later, but also, as I've alluded to earlier, look at everything surrounding the artist. Not just the cover art, but like everything else. Charity events, partnerships, social media posts. These are things that are going to help identify you the band's stance. This is especially helpful in instrumental genres, like I said, Killer Synth before, but also any EDM genre. Look at the things they support. Look at the local scene. You know, like, look at everything surrounding the genre to kind of ascertain what their ethos is. This isn't an exact method. I already mentioned the hardcore people who are pretty much adverse to politics altogether, and Republican rap exists, but I would consider those inversions and kind of failures of the genre not shining examples, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Tom MacDonald is rap, that's how he's categorized everywhere, that's kind of what he sounds like, but he's no fucking MC. Lastly is context. Context is the history of the genre and everything that surrounds it. This takes the most research and time to understand, but I think it's the most gratifying. If you're looking at a band, right? Who inspired them? Who do they play shows with? What labels signed them? Context can easily explain why seemingly unrelated genres are actually like brother and sister. Dungeon synth, for instance. It's ambient, it's moody, it's dark fantasy if you've been on TikTok. It's like what would be in the background of a roguelike video game. On its surface, with its layered synths and pads and ambient sounds, you would think it's some kind of electronic genre, right? You fucking idiot. No, it's black metal. That's not necessarily true. It's dungeon synth, but it's related heavily to black metal because it started in the black metal space among black metal musicians and listeners. I don't want to talk about Varg, but like, he was really popular in black metal and dungeon synth and was really foundational for both genres. Same goes for goth and all those core genres like mincecore, grindcore, noisecore that seemingly have nothing to do with punk. Goth came from the new wave era of punk, and grind and noisecore is just the basis of hardcore pushed further and further and further. Yes, they are punk, but especially in those core genres, I've seen a lot more non-punk people listening to these genres just because they don't understand the history. Look at what comes after as well as before, because Black Sabbath, if you look at just what came before, it's a blues band. Like, it's a blues band, right? But if you look at what came after, everybody who's inspired by that, they were the first metal band, you know? People say they're metal, they're described as metal. They were the transition between blues to metal. You can find this by looking at the label. A lot of the times, labels will sign similar people, watching interviews of the band to see who they were inspired by or see where they got their sound from, looking at who they play with, and just kind of understanding genre history as a whole. It's the hardest to understand, it needs thought, it's the most muddy, but I think it's really helpful.
Jack!
Jesus, you scared me, man. What?
I thought of a way that you can pay me back.
What?
What if I give you artists that I like and you find out the genre for me?
Okay, yeah, sure. That'll probably be helpful to people at home, too, just to kind of get an example of what I'm talking about. Shoot.
Okay, first, hum.
Deep pull, man. I'm impressed. But yeah, sure, okay. Well, first off, sound. Airy, layered, distorted, fuzzy, guitar-led rock. One could describe it as a wall of sound. You know, the vocals kind of get lost in there sometimes. It's obvious that it's rock from the lineup of drums, bass, guitar, and vocals, but there's a little something else. There's a little zhuzh, you know? Ethos is kind of general stuff, love, loss, sex, ooh, which also puts it squarely in the rock category. But context is really the linchpin here. They were inspired by a bunch of early shoegaze bands, like Slowdive or My Bloody Valentine, as well as, from what I can find, Sonic Youth and Joy Division. So yeah, rock is the umbrella, but more specifically, I would say shoegaze.
That's pretty cool, but I already mostly knew that. What about Nirvana?
Name 5 songs.
What?
Nothing. I don't know what came over me, sorry. Yeah, Nirvana. Sound. Simplistic guitar-led rock without a lot of layering, mostly just one guitar track, one vocal track, one bass track, and one drum track. Gritty, kinda yelly vocals, but not quite metal screams, and with an emphasis on being messy. Their ethos is kind of a mix between general rock stuff like drugs and love, but also more punk-related stuff like feminism, anti-consumerism, and pro-artist. Famously, Kurt Cobain didn't buy clothes that often. He always kind of looked a little dirty, you know, and very often spoke out against toxic masculinity by both wearing dresses and addressing sexual assault at his shows and in his songs. The context is interesting too, because there's kind of 2 levels to it. All 3 of the members were in the underground punk scene in Seattle before they started Nirvana. Flipper with Chris, Scream with Dave, and Fecal Matter with Kurt. Due to kind of all of this, you'd think punk, right? Which I think is kind of fair. They definitely have a lot of punk rock elements that were kind of lost as the genre was more country driven later on, like by Alice in Chains. But again, look at what came after. They sparked the grunge movement. And honestly, Nirvana doesn't sound like much else grunge, but just based off the movement that they started, it is grunge.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, anyone else?
Travis Scott.
Huh?
Travis Scott.
No, it's just kind of switch up. Okay, whatever. Travis Scott. Synth-driven, lots of bass, vocal and drums heavy. It's got a lot of musings of the classic rap sound, but it's a lot more aggressive and definitely more synth-based. Ethos is more classic rap stuff. Drugs, money, the experience of growing up poor, getting rich, systemic issues, which I think puts him kind of square in the rap ethos. Context. He was inspired by rappers like Kid Cudi and Kanye. He's rap or trap with like a little bit of rock almost kind of mixed in there. Like he does fluctuate, but overall I'd say trap.
Cool. And lastly, Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh. Yeah, that's actually something else that I wanted to talk about. I mean, obviously she's pop. Right? I mean, that's how she's described. She's extremely popular. But is pop really a genre? Pop, as we know it today, is usually defined by 1/4/5 chord progressions, drum and vocal-centric mixing, very clean, professional, well-produced sound, and lyrics about love. But think back to the 80s. It's definitely a different sound. Or the 60s. The most popular songs back then were folksy in nature, and I'm sure that they called those pop. Also, there are pop songs, really popular songs that is, that don't fit with the pop ethos at all. Like Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People. It's about school shootings, and there are far too many people who just didn't know that until way too recently. Drop a comment if you didn't know that until just now. I need engagement, please. But they have a more reverberated sound with gang vocals, and during the verses, that kind of iconic talkbox, walkie-talkie kind of vocal thing that is not pop at all. Yet it's considered pop, or alt-pop, which kind of an oxymoron if you ask me. In my opinion, pop isn't a genre. It's just what we say when we mean safe. And what that looks like does change. But that means that pop as a genre doesn't really stand on its own 2 legs. I feel the same about alt and indie. Breaking it down, indie just means independent. That can mean anything. I myself am independent. I've never been signed to a label. Play a couple clips of all the different songs I make. Yeah, what the fuck kind of genre is that? I'm being kind of cheeky, okay? Because I know what people mean when they say indie as a genre. They mean rock with that kind of sound to it. But that's not what indie means, you know? I understand that that's what it means in today's current culture, but I really think that we just need another name for that genre. Same with alt. What the fuck does that mean? Alternative to the mainstream? Like, pretty much everything? Funny enough, when people say alt, they usually mean songs that are still very popular. People describe the Arctic Monkeys as alt. How many monthly listeners do they have? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Not mainstream, though. No, of course not. Just one of the most popular fucking bands of the 21st century. But, my bad, I guess. Same with 21 Pilots. And I hate to do it to them. I had a huge 21 Pilots phase. Could you tell? But they are as pop gets. Especially recently. They're not alt-rock, they're definitely not emo. They are pop. I don't know. In my opinion, a genre also implies a history and a story. There's a direct path from blues to rock to punk to hardcore to metalcore. But pop just doesn't have that same story. It's music. So yeah, I can't give the blonde white woman of the week a genre. Sorry, Frank.
Get out.
What?
If you can't tell me what genre my favorite girl Sabrina Carpenter is a part of, I don't want you in my green screen. Get out!
Okay. Alright, I'm going. I've learned to pick my battles. Either way, though, that's pretty much all I had to say about genres. A genre, put simply, is just a bunch of people who make music who have similar sounds, ethoses, and contexts. If you have a band that you really like that you're not sure of the genre of, I encourage you to do this method. You'll probably learn something new about this artist that you like, and maybe you'll even find more artists like them. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Like this video if you like it, subscribe to me if you want to, and have a good day. Ta-ta!